So what's up guys? Yeah, welcome back to another video. Lots of things going on this week since on Friday the Black Week starts. So the whole Black Friday event. Still need to do some preparation for that, but it's all going well. And yeah, like this week I wanted to talk a little bit or go a little bit into depth when it comes to product development, since that is a big part of my work right now. Since we currently have multiple products in like different stages in development, so I thought it is a great idea to kind of take you guys along, talk a little bit about what kind of steps that we go through, and also kind of like what's important when it comes to supplements. Just to give you like a little bit like a look behind the curtains. Since I'm always trying to be transparent about all the things we do. Yeah, but before we get to that, I still have a call with the other two guys and then a university appointment basically, and after that family dinner. So yeah, we'll get to product development after all of that. Okay, so guys, just as already mentioned, going to talk to you a little bit through our product development process. And first step is like the first like actionable step is usually research. But before it even gets to that, it's more about like choosing the product or choosing what the product needs to become. And there are usually two types of products in the supplement industry. There is like the one ingredient product and then the solution-based product. I mean, I'm just calling it that, but let me expand on that a little bit. So the one ingredient product is basically something like omega-3, vitamin D3, K2, where like I mean, that's actually two, but it's like basically where the ingredient is very well known to serve a specific purpose and it gets used alone for that purpose. And like I said, some ingredients fall into that category. There's not really a lot of product development needed for those kind of products. On the other side, solution-based products, they usually serve a very specific purpose. Like there's a problem and these type of products aim to get rid of that problem. And for example, and these kind of products usually consist of multiple ingredients that all serve a similar purpose. Just to give you like a couple of examples, like a brain health supplement that has multiple ingredients in it that all help with neurological problems or neurological health. Then you have a pre-workout where multiple ingredients serve the purpose of elevating your workout experience, getting you more dialed in, increasing blood flow, all that kind of stuff. So that's step one, choosing what the product needs to become. And then after that, it's about research. And that's what I'm going to do a little bit of now. So guys, here's the thing about research. I think research is generally really important, even if you just take supplements yourself like on a regular daily basis. I think it is definitely time well spent to research a little bit about what you're essentially taking and the reason for why you're taking it. But I will get to that a little bit later in the video as well. For now, why do we start with research? Well, ultimately, before you can actually contact the manufacturer, you kind of need to already know like what the product is essentially and how it's going to look, because otherwise the manufacturer can't give you any prices or anything like that. So for us, we decide on what we want to make. And then we look at like different biomarkers, outcomes in the body that basically lead to the solution we want to create with the product. And then it's just a matter of reading a lot of studies essentially and really trying to figure out like which kind of ingredients like serve the purpose the best and what dosage and what form, because not every ingredient is ultimately the same. For example, magnesium has a lot of different forms. Not every magnesium is the same. Like a magnesium malate doesn't get absorbed by the body as well as magnesium citrate, for example. So that is something to definitely keep in mind, that supplements aren't essentially the same, even if they have the same name on the label. But yeah, we want to make sure that we use the best kind of ingredients, and for that reason, research is, in my opinion, the most important part, to essentially get like a really, really well thought out prototype that you know exactly everything about, like what kind of ingredient serves what purpose in the product. And yeah, so that's usually where most of the time gets spent, around like easily between like 3 to 9 months for a product, depending on the product, of course, and the complexity of it. But yeah, definitely one of my favorite stages. I love just like reading about all the different ingredients. Next, I will talk a little bit about why I think it is important that everyone does their research independently on their own supplements that they're taking on a regular basis. But yeah, we will get to that next. So guys, why do I think that it's really important that you do your own research on supplements? Well, ultimately it's because not all supplements are equal, far from it actually. So if you have, for example, your omega-3, which I think is always like a great example, there are so many differences when it comes to like the raw material of omega-3, the quality behind it, and then ultimately also like how high the benefit is that you get from it, because the higher the quality, for example, with omega-3, usually the more you get from it. So a lot of people, they only look at prices when it comes to supplements, and that is something that I can definitely very much understand, since it can get very expensive very quick if you take multiple supplements on a regular basis. But I would also say like limit the amount of supplements you take, and then go for higher quality ones, because you will get so much more than if you take like 20 different supplements, but for every single one you are taking like the cheapest one there is. Yeah, so also don't take my word from it, always do your own research. I think that you should never trust someone completely blindly when it comes to supplements or like their opinion on it, because ultimately it is kind of subjective in a lot of areas, since, for example, I might be a fan of certain supplements and their effects in certain areas because I have read a lot of studies about that, and I believe that this effect is something that I feel for myself as well. Someone else might have a different take on that entirely. It's just about like finding what you kind of align with, and also what the science aligns with, because there is a broad direction. But yeah, that is definitely something to consider. Just doing your own research. Examine.com is probably the best website to get some unbiased knowledge on certain supplements. My recommendation, I will also put it in the video description. And yeah, then just try to figure out what you want. Limit it to maybe only a couple supplements, but get high quality ones. That's the thing that I can recommend. And also know why you are taking the supplements. Don't take something blindly just because someone on the internet told you to do so. Always do your own research, yeah. So guys, before I'm going to talk about the next step of the whole product development, which is basically contacting a manufacturer, or like sending the formula to a manufacturer and discussing specifics for the product. I have a university tutorial which I need to attend, so we are gonna do that now, and afterwards I'm gonna talk about the next steps of product development. Now about the manufacturer. Just before we get to that, just wanted to sweep back to the research part a little bit, because research usually has the biggest impact on like the product itself, because the formulation pretty much makes or breaks a product, because that's the thing that really sets it apart from other products. But the manufacturer is still really, really important. Because the thing for us in the past was like we've done our research really, really well and we formulated a great product, but then ultimately we chose the wrong manufacturer and it all went to shit. So that can definitely happen. Like even if you've done great research and you know everything about the formulation, it still can go bad if you choose the wrong manufacturer. So that is really, really important because ultimately that's the one who's going to give you prices and who's going to determine or who makes the product realistic ultimately. Because I mean, you're running a company, not a charity. So like the prices need to be right. If the product is too expensive for you to buy from the manufacturer or manufacture the product, then it can't really be sold. So that's a big part that comes into play there as well. And overall, it's like manufacturers tend to be better in certain areas and maybe worse in others. So it's important to find a manufacturer that is actually suited for the product that you want to create. And we are in a very fortunate situation now where we found manufacturer basically for all our product needs. And that is very nice. So yeah. And also not only the price is important when it comes to the manufacturer, but also the manufacturer usually takes care of the whole flavoring when you're doing a powder that has a flavor. That means that their influence on the taste and the flavor profile of a product can be really, really high. So also that's another point where like choosing the right manufacturer is really important. So a lot of variables that come into play when making that decision. Yeah. But the last part about product development pretty much, or at least the last part that I'm going to talk about is the label. So now that we already like talked to a manufacturer and we kind of talked about prices and if the product is actually like realistic or we can bring it to market, kind of like a step that goes along during all these phases but can be pretty much finished last is the label. Here I have one of the files from one of our products. The annoying thing with the label is that while you have like maybe the design idea really early, you really can't finish it until you're 100% set with all the ingredients and nothing about the formula will be adjusted. Not the flavors, not any dosages, any ingredients itself, because everything here needs to be as in the product, or at least that's how we do it. I know some companies might, do a little different, but we stay legit and everything you read on the label will actually be in those kind of dosages in the product. And for this reason, like this is kind of like the last step where you get the label done, like you finalize the product with your manufacturer, and then we get the label done. And then we send it off to someone who prints out the label, sends it to the manufacturer. They mix the powder, fill it in the tubs, label it, and then send it to us. Yeah. And then there's some work to be done as well, but that will come afterwards pretty much, or after we finish the label. So guys, just kind of wanted to wrap up this video since basically covered like all the major steps when it comes to how we develop products. Of course, I didn't talk about like every single steps. I mean, product development usually takes a lot of small steps as well that I didn't talk about, but such as like checking ingredient quality for like every single ingredients, since like every ingredient can still be a little bit different and we want to make sure that we use the best ones. So that's also part of product development, for example, as well, that I didn't really talk about. But we covered all the big steps, I think, and I hope that gave you kind of like an insight on how we do things. And I mean, for us, it's the most important part is actually like creating the best products possible. Like that's our whole like motto, and I really care about that as well, because I mean I'm taking the products for myself, so I want the products to be as good as possible if I take them daily. On our side, to make sure of that, we just take care of like everything when it comes to products, like really trying to figure out like what is the best ingredient combination possible to achieve the goal that we want to achieve with the product. So yeah, like I said, I hope you enjoyed this insight and that you learned a little bit about the supplement industry or how things happen there. And yeah, as always, thanks for watching.